This is Ball on Blast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network, available on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. If you like it, then subscribe and tell your friends. Holla.
Thank you. You're far too kind for tuning in once again to a little thing we like to call the Ball on Blast Podcast. As always, my name is Sheldon Alexander. Again, I'm joined by my guy, Mr. Andrew Webster. Webby, what is good?
Yo, hi everybody.
Hey.
Great to be back. Looks like hey man, we got sports happening this week. And I have a 9-month pregnant wife here who could be giving birth at any moment. So we're going to try and wheel the TV into the delivery room. We've got to see if that can work. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Lots on the go in the Webster household. Lots on the go in the NBA. And that's why we are back on this, the Ball on Blast podcast, which this episode of Ball on Blast is brought to you by Clean Cuts Barbershop, 2013 Danforth Avenue in the East End of Toronto. Clean Cuts, the multicultural barbers that will always keep you fresh for any and all occasions. So go see Skip and the crew. And as a wise man once said, tell them that I sent ya. Check them out on Instagram at Clean Cuts Toronto or give them a call, 416-917-4833 to book your appointments now. I mean, the barbershops are back up and running. Basketball's back up and running.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask
to the barbershop.
Of course. Everything is back up and running, but especially basketball, which is why we're here. And, Webby, I can see the excitement in your face. I can hear the excitement in your voice. The words basketball are back. How does that make you feel, Mr. Andrew Webster?
It makes me feel amazing. And what I love about what the NBA is doing with their return is that they seem to be doing it right. The bubble seems to be the way to go. Because I think a week ago, maybe even a little less than a week ago, they tested everybody and they had no positive tests for COVID. Meanwhile, baseball basically just came back willy-nilly, and we've got teams that may not play for the rest of the season. Who knows? So it seems like Adam Silver and the NBA and the bubble idea down in Orlando is working, and that's the best news.
So the one thing that also mentioned when they do tip the ball back up, Mr. Andrew Webster, is your Toronto Raptors are still the NBA champions.
Defending champs. Coming down to Orlando in the Black Lives Matter bus, just blowing the whole place up. How awesome was that to see? Such a great message from a Canadian team, right? And they've been doing such a great job in getting the message out to not just Canadians, but Americans living in Canada, telling them go out and vote, how important it is. And I thought that statement with the bus and Masai Ujiri, we should not be surprised how smart and, on point he is. So I love to see that. And, you might think, Sheldon, that I'm going to say, oh, man, the Raptors with no Kawhi, they've got no shot. But honestly, I think that this bubble and this kind of tournament happening down in Orlando is the best case scenario for a team like the Raptors.
Okay. My whole thought on this whole bubble is anything is possible because it's 4 months. So you don't know who's been really working out, who's been working on their game, which I know you want to mention your boy Benny Simmons shooting threes. But the reality is, in 4 months, there could be so much that has changed in terms of someone's game, in terms of someone's fitness, good or bad. So that's a wild card. The other wild card about this situation is just health in general. So we've seen the Raptors this entire season deal with injuries. And they have the depth. But it just makes you wonder, can they stay healthy throughout this? Because it's one thing to deal with injuries during the regular season when, you might play the Bucks, but then your next game's against the Zombie Warriors without Steph, Clay, and Draymond. But it's another thing when you're dealing with injuries, but now you're in the playoffs. And now you're playing against Giannis for 6 straight games. Or even in this bubble situation where you got to play, their schedule's hard. Right? So if you're dealing with an injuries in this, it kind of makes things super different. And that's the part that I don't know. Can this team stay healthy?
Right. Because, like you said, during that regular season, it was kind of up and down. One guy, they'd lose one guy, somebody else would step up, and then they'd lose that guy, the other person comes back, and they'd kind of fall into this cycle of losing somebody and having other players step up. Now, they've had this time off to kind of coagulate, everybody's back together, but I think, for me, the best thing about this stoppage for the Raptors was getting them where they did, because... What are they, second in the East?
Second in the East right now, and 3 games up on Boston.
And they can't really drop below third with the rest of the regular season before the playoffs actually start.
No.
So you're right. They have an incredibly tough schedule before these playoffs start. But, I mean, even if they end up going, 3-5, worst case scenario, 2-6, it's not going to matter that much for the playoff seeding. Sure, they might fall behind Boston if the Celtics go on a crazy run.
Yeah.
But still, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not like you're going to drop down and have to face Milwaukee or Boston in the first round. So I think that with the great coach that they have, the injuries kind of now being a thing maybe of the past, but everybody's back together. Everybody seems to be healthy.
Yeah.
And where they are in the standings, I think they're really in the catbird seat in the East. I really think that.
It's super interesting, right? Because you mentioned how well coached they are and they have a system. And I think in something like this scenario where so much is in flux, right? The fact that the Raps can go back and, this is their style of play. You know it's going to be crazy ball movement, good defense, and you can't really game plan for just one person. So that's kind of the advantage that the Raptors could have. But there's part of me that wonders that in the craziness that this whole thing could be, because you don't know about injuries, you don't know who could get sick, you don't know anything that could possibly happen. To me, it makes me wonder, okay, well, is it better suited for a team that has a top 5 dude that, okay, when all the shit hits the fan, do you just have that one dude that just says, don't worry, get on my back, I'm going to win this series, I'm going to win this game, don't worry about it. And
for sure, there's 3 teams that have that guy. It's the Bucks, the Lakers, and the Clippers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about it.
So,
and
it makes me wonder, though, this
so
Raptors team,
the
can they do that? Do you think? Do you know what I mean? This Raptors team, now, can Pascal be that guy for the Toronto Raptors if need be? Chips are down, you need buckets, right? It's mano a mano. You're going head-to-head with whoever, whether it's the Celtics or whether it's against the Bucks or whether it's against your Sixers, and it's just, we need buckets right now. Can Pascal Siakam be that guy? Because if you go back to last year, and as much as people want to downplay what Kawhi did in the finals, my guy was still a walking 28-10 on one leg, right? So,
yeah, and when they needed that bucket, he'd give them that bucket.
So I'm just asking the question, and I'm not leading it one way or the next, but do you think Pascal has that next gear right now where he could be that guy to, go head-to-head against whoever need be? Or does it have to be by committee for the Raptors to win?
Well, I don't think that he's scared to do it, whether he can or he can't. I think if the ball's in Pascal's hand, I think that he has the confidence to say, I'm better than the guy in front of me, and I can do that. Whether he can or not, well, we're going to see.
We're going to find out.
But you want to have that guy, whether he can or not, you need to have, and I think the Raptors have a couple of guys like that. I think Fred is like that. Give me the ball, I can score. I think Pascal is like that. Give me the ball, I can score.
Okay.
Now, is that going to work against Giannis? I don't know. But, again, I think having that system in place and working through that in this return to play tournament or whatever it's called is huge. When you look at what the Sixers are doing, in that they're almost setting up a new system with having Ben play basically a LeBron James point forward role and bring in Shake Milton now as the point guard. That's going to be interesting to see because it seems so new. And sure, if it works, it's going to work great. But if it flames out, that could be it, you know?
For sure. It's going to be super interesting. And the Raptors, you mentioned their schedule, right? And so if we go through the games here, they got the Lakers, Heat, Magic, Celtics, Grizzlies, Bucks, Sixers.
Ooh,
that's a tough
schedule. There's only 2 that you can maybe take your foot off the gas with the Magic and the Grizz.
Yeah. I look at that and I say, if you go 4-4, That's pretty good.
Huge.
Right? That's massive.
Huge.
That's
Because
really good.
I figure if you go 4-4, you're pretty much guaranteed that second spot.
Because the key part is at the bottom, right? The Wiz and Nets are a joke, right? So
get them out.
Yeah, get them
out. Why are they there?
Matter. But that 6 seed, if you're in that 3-6 matchup, you could be talking about a first round against the Sixers. Right? Like that's so it gets super interesting here. And so every game becomes so important. And that's where, it makes me worry about the injuries because this Raptors team hasn't been able to stay healthy for the whole season. And now in big boy games, yes, it's one thing in the regular season to say, hey, we can get by without Fred or without Kyle for a game. But in the playoffs, or even in these first 8 games when you're going against the Heat or you're going against the Lakers, and these are big boy games from here on out. So that's going to be the thing to me. I hope they can stay healthy. And I think the key to the Raptors is still got to be by committee. I don't think it can be, okay, we're relying on Pascal to get it done and be that 30 a night guy. I think realistically, if he's still putting in 20, maybe to 25, cool. But you're going to need Norm. You're going to need Gasol. You're going to need Serge. Kyle scoring. You're going to need everybody. Yeah. All the scoring has got to come up, and it's got to be by committee, and it's got to be sticking to the system because, it can't be in that scenario, which we saw last year at times, where it just turned into, where's Kawhi? Right? Because that's what happens in the playoffs sometimes. That's the reality of the playoffs. But anyways, it's going to be interesting for the Raps. We'll save the predictions for later on in terms of who's going to make it out of the East, okay? But let's get to the bubble. We mentioned that we think the Raptors as a team being in the bubble, it kind of helps them just because of the family-like atmosphere. I really like the setup in terms of how they made the floor for the Raptors very Raptors-oriented. They had the signage everywhere. Yeah. They had the family photos in the Raptors rooms and all that, which was a really nice touch from as you mentioned, an A++ organization. But in terms of the bubble and some of the things that we've been seeing in the bubble so far, we'll get to Lou Will in a sec. But is there something else in terms of the bubble that, piqued your interest, that's been kind of interesting for you so far? Or is it just, Lou Will?
No, there has been. And it has to do, it'll be a nice segue into Lou Will because it has to do with the food. Okay? When they first got there, all my Twitter timeline was full of people taking pictures of the food and being like, oh my God, can you believe it? Listen, that food looked okay. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't expecting them to be getting, Home Alone 2, coming in with the silver dish, pulling it off and having the prime rib. Listen, I'm giving it up to the NBA for setting this up. That's got to be, for logistics-wise, has to be a nightmare to figure out what can we serve these guys that can be safe and packaged and everything. So I think that was a little overblown. Now, the other thing that I liked, and I think this was kind of debunked, was who was it? Was it Garrett Temple or something?
Okay.
Had his food, and then a couple hours later, it was a Tuesday, and LeBron James had the tacos out.
Oh,
it was like LeBron is still doing Taco Tuesday.
But
and
I
it's
think,
listen,
were the Lakers there yet? I don't know if the Lakers are in the bubble yet.
Maybe, but it's funny. It is funny. LeBron James's food is going to be different than Garrett Temple's food.
Of course,
that's just how it's going to go.
LeBron James's room is going to be different than Garrett Temple's room, right? No,
that's the NBA.
Of course. Did you hear the story, by the way? JJ Redick. This was in the middle of quarantine. JJ Redick was on with Simmons, and they're talking about the rumors of the Lakers holding secret workouts at
the guy's house.
Yes. So apparently, for people who might not know, there's some super rich dude that lives in Bel Air, I'm pretty sure it is, that has
he's got
a replica Staples Center court in his house. And so the rumor was that the Lakers were having secret workouts there throughout the quarantine. So that to me is one of those things where you just think, we're talking about the difference in food, the difference in organizations. I mean, you're seeing it in different ways, but that's one where it's like, wow. Okay, LeBron, what else do you got for us?
And then, so the other thing is, I'm loving the LeBron beard with the gray.
Yes.
Because, I don't know, I'm starting to get a couple of little grays here, so I can definitely commiserate with the king on that. And then the last thing that I love about the bubble is that it's kind of like a college atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of these guys didn't spend 4 years in a university, but all I'm seeing now on my Insta or Twitter are the guys doing the shotgun beer challenge.
Yes.
And I just love the thought of these guys. Like, first it was Myers Leonard, then JJ Redick, and then it's amazing. Like, these guys, it's truly like Us Weekly. Yeah. Like, they're just like us, like just shotgunning by the pool.
It's awesome.
That's great stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome to see them as real people. And, you know, the NBA is the fun league, right? Like, you know, just seeing the different things, seeing the personalities, and then you counter that with the NHL, who I'm pretty sure has said the players are not allowed to, like, post the bubble on Instagram. Like, they can't post stuff on social media behind the scenes. And that, to me, is, like, ridiculous, right? Like,
that's the best part.
Yeah, like, how else do you expect your game to grow? Like, why do we enjoy the NBA so much? It's because we can, you know, what's your boy on the Sixers that made his YouTube series?
Oh, Thibault.
Right? Like, Matisse Thibault. Like, that's awesome, right? Like, that's cool. Seeing these guys go fishing. Seeing these guys, like, how are they killing their time in the bubble? Like, that to me is a super interesting. Is it Bubble Life? Is that the Twitter account? NBA Bubble Life? I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, that's hilarious. That is great content. And that's what makes the NBA what it is. Heck, again, that's why we're doing this podcast, right? Because you get this stuff from the NBA. And you get stories like, how many players now have been had to re-quarantine for 10 days because they stepped outside of the bubble to retrieve their delivery.
Who was it? It was on the Blazers.
So it was Bruno Caboclo first off, and then Rashad Holmes, I think,
and then Myers Leonard was tweeting about it. He's like, teammate about to go pick up the skip the dishes. It's going to be sick. And then and it was like, Bruno Caboclo must quarantine for 10 days. And then Myers Leonard tweeted, never mind. So good.
Right? Like, that is great content. That is hilarious. That is funny. And, you know, obviously having to quarantine for the 10 days leads us to Mr. Lou Williams. And this, people...
the sixth god.
The sixth god. 6 men like Lou Will. And this, people, is maybe the epitome as to why the Ball on Blast podcast exists. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And I tweeted out, I'm not here for people doing the hot takes on Lou Williams, because to me, I see you're hyped, Webby. You're hyped. Go ahead.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
The story dropped, and it was like Lou Williams was at Magic City, super famous strip club in Atlanta, on his furlough or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, he immediately was like, no, like, you guys got it twisted.
Yeah.
I stepped back and I let the lamestream media, the lamestream NBA media, do their thing.
Okay.
The talking heads, your Stephen A's, your Kendrick Perkins, your Max Kellermans out here. You know, this guy is irresponsible. He's putting everybody's health in danger. Yada yada yada. Got to get out there, be the first one to have the hot take. I wanted to step back because I thought to myself, there's something going on here that's a little more to the story than him just hitting up the club.
Yeah. So let's catch people up who might not be in the Twitter sphere like we are, and as we try to catch people and reintroduce people back into the NBA life, the news
and the storylines.
The storylines, yes. So Lou Williams will have to quarantine for 10 days in Orlando after picking up food at Magic City on an excused absence, and this will sideline him through the first 2 seeding games for the Clippers. So Lou Will is missing 2 games, right? So here's the story. Lou Williams was granted permission. You're allowed to leave the bubble. You can get an excuse if there's a family emergency or something like that. So Lou Williams had a death in the family. So he returned back to Atlanta to go to the funeral. While he was back home in Atlanta, he went to Magic City. While at Magic City, he was there with a friend, a rapper I'm not familiar with, but this guy posts a picture and quickly then deleted it. But as we know, that's too late, right?
Doesn't matter.
The way that the interwebs work in 2020. Once it's there, it's there. Gotcha. So this was bubbling from last week. And I think that as it began to surface into, as you mentioned, the lamestream media, the NBA was then in a position where, okay, we kind of got to do something, because the headline of Lou Williams being at a strip club while getting on it's not good for business, right? So then you get into the hot takes, and why some people hit me up, because I was like, I'm not here for the hot takes on Lou Williams being at Magic City, because first off, with the craziness that's going on with all this, Webby, there's got to be times where we just sit back and get to the jokes, right?
100%. Firing them off.
Yeah, this is funny. And even Lou Will said, hey, like, it's not that serious, just enjoy the memes, right? Even Lou Will said that online. But here's the thing, right? Magic City, we're in Canada, okay? The strip club culture in the U.S. is unlike anything that we know in Canada.
Different.
It's different, to say the least. People actually go there to eat food. I don't know about you, but I can say I've never eaten at a strip club in my life. And I'm not saying that I'm like a heavy strip club dude. I go all the time or anything like that. But I'm saying I don't even recall being at a strip club and seeing food, much less, going to a strip club and eating food. Right?
Definitely not in Canada. And I've only been to two in the States.
Yeah.
And no food was being served.
So the culture of the strip club is just different in the States for sure. And this is where we get into the conversation of just reading past the headline, right? Like, I remember one of my buddies telling me, because he played D1 ball in the States, people that watch Wrap It Up might know my boy Ola Foots. He told me about going to a bachelor party for one of his ex-teammates in the States. And he was explaining to me, like, just how different it was. Like, there was almost like a tailgate going on in the parking lot of people just like hanging out and chilling. And then you're bringing your cooler in, because some of them are bring your own drinks. So it's just a completely thing. It's just different that we can't fathom. So Lou Will, on record, before any of this happened, right? Lou Will's already on record saying, hey, Magic City is one of my favorite restaurants to eat at in Atlanta. So to us, that sounds crazy, right? But to people in Atlanta, there are other people co-signing this, being like, no, the wings are fire. Like, the food is actually legit at Magic City.
The wings that they posted the other night, the picture of the wings, and it said Magic City Kitchen, they looked fantastic.
They did.
They had lemon pepper. He had the lemon pepper going on in there, which is like an Atlanta wing staple. So you know that those are going to be fire. Yeah. He had like a breaded wing as well, and then he had what looked like sweet Thai chili heat wings that just looked fantastic.
Right? So
and crinkle fries. And the crinkle fries.
And there's other people co-signing this, right? So if you go to Twitter, Roz Gold Unwoody, is that how you pronounce her last name? I think. The reporter, sideline reporter for TNT. She posted a video, an interview she did with Lou Will, in which Lou Will says, Magic City is my favorite restaurant in the world. It's part of our culture here, right? And that's him saying this before all this happens. So in his mind, he's going to pick up food. We think that when we hear strip club, that means, oh, well, he's getting lap dances, he's making it rain, and blah, blah. And did he do that? I don't know. I wasn't there, right? I don't know what he was doing there. But another person backing up Lou Will's claim, Taylor Rooks, another NBA reporter, and she does very good work as well, but she says, as someone from Georgia, I guess it's not the right time for a dialogue on how good the food is at Magic City. So again, this whole narrative is out there already, and I'm here for the jokes because I find this whole thing funny. The people that want to tear it down aren't thinking logically to me about it, because here's the thing. The rules state that once you get excused from the bubble, as long as you're getting tested every day, when you come back, you have to quarantine for 4 days, right? Those are the rules.
Yeah, I think it's 4.
He's getting tested every day.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if he went to Magic City, which, first off, it's open in Georgia. So how are you going to tell him not to go there or not to go anywhere? But if he went, like, you're in Florida, right? This bubble is taking place in Florida. There are employees in Florida at the bubble who are leaving and coming and going every single day. So
yeah,
if Lou Will is wherever he's at and he's getting tested every day, what does it matter that he went to eat wings at Magic City?
Exactly. It's what's called optics.
Yes.
If he had gone to a McDonald's, if he had gone to my favorite down in the South is Bojangles.
Okay.
If he had gone to a Bojangles, it would be 4 days. But because it's a strip club, it's 10.
And the optics of everyone having to say that, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I did my 60 Minutes investigative journalism on this.
Okay.
I went to the Magic City website to check out the menu.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
I had to explain it to the wife. Listen, I'm only on the Magic City website to see the menu.
It's for research. Research purposes for the pod.
Research. And not only did their menu look amazing, but there's actually a Lou Williams special, which is like the kind of wings that he had, the picture was.
Yeah.
It was like that combo of wings with the fries. Listen, if you've got something named after you at a restaurant, you should be fine. Listen, if if there's an Andrew Webster sandwich and I go and get it, I shouldn't have to quarantine for more than everybody else. But I think that it's true. I think that it's just the optics of having, him being at the strip club.
Yeah.
That's what killed him. Like, if he had gone to a Popeyes, if he had gone to a McDonald's, he would have been fine.
Because all these people, like I saw, there's a what's his name? Your man Steve Simmons was all about the NBA should ban him and kick him out and all. And it's like, dude,
nobody listens to what Steve Simmons got to say.
But it was just like, take 2 seconds as someone who's supposed to be a journalist and take a step back and like think about this for a second, right? Like, and another thing, okay? I'm going to tiptoe around how I say this because it might be too heavy for some people, right?
Okay.
If you're Lou Williams, a man that we know, right, from his exploits to girlfriends, the life that Lou Williams leads, right?
It's been well documented.
Yes. If he needed to get into shenanigans when he went back to Atlanta, do you think that he would need to go to Magic City to do that?
An Atlanta legend like Lou Williams would not have to go out in public to involve himself with those shenanigans. I'm sure there would be I'm sure his phone, I'm sure if you just typed in Atlanta into Lou Williams' phone, you'd have a few hundred female names there that he could call.
So my point is, right, if my guy's telling you that he went to get wings at this restaurant that happens to be a gentleman's club, like, maybe listen to him. That's all. Now, is it right? Is it right? No. But there's no need for the whole dialogue on, like, they should ban him and kick him out of the bubble. He's threatening the health of the rest of the NBA bubble. No, he's not. He's getting tested. So if he tested positive, he wouldn't have come back to the bubble. So it's just ridiculous.
It's not like Lou said, 10 days, quarantine when I come back, that's unacceptable. He said, yeah, no, not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
10 days, he misses 2 games, and people are like, oh, now he's harming the Clippers playoff or the Clippers championship chances. No, he's not. He's going to miss 2 games. I'm sure the Clippers, would they like to have Lou Will for those 2 games? I'm sure they would. But I think the Clippers are going to be okay without Lou Williams for 2 games. I don't think it's a big deal. And if we're really being serious, the deeper level of this whole narrative, if you remember, the only reason the Clippers are there is because they had a team vote. If we go back to when all this drama of was there going to be an NBA season or not, what were the players going to do, Lou Williams was one of the guys that didn't want or didn't sound as if he wanted. Right. He was enthused about going into the bubble. He was bringing up things like, they sent out the manual in terms of what NBA players were, the do's and don'ts within the bubble. And one of the things was you can't play doubles ping pong. And Lou Will's reaction was, wait, so we can't play doubles ping pong, but we can play basketball.
But we're playing NBA games.
So the people who don't know, what the Clippers ended up doing is they voted as a team. Because instead of, we know there's a bunch of players who opted out of the NBA return to play, but the Clippers decided we're not going to do that. we're either all going to go or none of us are going to go. So they held a team vote, and obviously, the majority was to go to the bubble. So to me, that's another layer of this whole discussion. And to me, that's probably the more interesting level of this discussion. But how many people are actually here to have that? Right?
No.
You know, the thought of, well, maybe these guys don't want to be there. Is it a coincidence that Pat Bev, the guy who said, well, if LeBron's going, then we're all going, and magically he got exempted to leave the bubble early on as well? Montrez also. Like, you can kind of see...
I was just going to bring that up, yeah.
So, do you know what I'm getting at here, Webby? Like, there's a more interesting dialogue about the bubble and about what these play-in games are
NBA.
before the playoffs and the NBA in general. More so
in
than
general,
my guy went to the Magic City to get wings.
And it's absolutely like a great segue, because the NBA is unlike any other league in that it is so top-heavy.
Yeah.
And as soon as LeBron James says, I want to play, you knew that this was going to get done.
For sure.
As soon as Chris Paul said, I want to play, it was going to get done. There's a reason that this whole bubble started around a phone call with only, 30, 35 guys?
I don't even know if it was that many, but it was the stars, yeah.
But that's where the power structure is in the NBA. If those guys want to do it, then guys like Lou Will, guys like Pat Bev, guys like Montrezl Harrell, they're going to have to do it. It's that or the whole team is staying back.
Yeah.
But this league is run by, like I say, maybe 15, 20 guys. And is that good? You can make cases that that's the way it should be. You can make cases that say that's not really that fair. But that's the way it is in the NBA.
No, I totally agree with you, my dude. It's such a weird dialogue. And then you have a situation where Kendrick Perkins, who... he's trying to make his way into the media game, right?
He has been for a while.
He has been. And the player transition, we've seen different avenues, right? We've seen it work where, minus the massive gaffe that Steven Jackson just recently made, where co-signing the terrible comments of Deshaun Jackson. But prior to that, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, you've seen them build a podcast, right? You've seen the Knuckleheads podcast with Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson. So you've seen...
It really all starts from Charles Barkley.
For sure.
And the transition that Barkley made from being an outspoken player to being the most outspoken NBA analyst. And has gotten in trouble with some former players and current players.
Yeah. So you have this, there's two routes you could go, right? Are you trying to go the mainstream route where you're on ESPN every day or whatever? Or are you going the podcast route where you can kind of be a little more free? Exactly, yes. So Perk has been trying to make it within the mainstream, and he's on ESPN. And he's caused some headwaves before with some things he said about Kevin Durant, some things he said about different players in the league. And this time... he said on Get Up, he went on talking about what just happened with Lou Will, and he said, I've been to Magic City, and the Wings are fire. But in all seriousness, Lou Williams has to do better. Then says, it's disturbing when a rookie in Zion Williamson can act more mature than NBA vet Lou Williams. Mr. Andrew Webster, what is your response to Perk here? Because to me, this is exactly what I'm talking about, where... you're taking this and making this into a hot take, and I get it. That's the hot take culture of what, the news cycle of ESPN is. But to me, it's also pretty dumb. But what do you think when you hear Kendrick Perkins say that? It's disturbing when a rookie in Zion can act more mature than NBA vet Lou Williams.
It's another example of Kendrick Perkins going out on a limb one way or the other to try and make a name for himself in the media, is what I think. And... it's not the first time, because Lou Williams called his ass right out.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
And it wasn't the first time that's happened to Perk, and it certainly won't be the last time. No. But it seems like every time he does do this, he takes a huge L by getting roasted by whoever he's talking about. It was Katie first, I think, and it's happened a couple of times. And he just doesn't have, he thinks that he has the respect of somebody like a Kenny Smith or a Charles or a Shaq, and he just doesn't.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's because he was a bit of a stiff in the NBA and got clowned on a bunch of times during games, or if it's just because his career ended pretty recently, right? He hasn't been out of the league for super long.
Yeah.
And that it's the mainstream, the lamestream NBA media that he's working for. It's not like he's keeping it real like Matt Barnes or Darius Miles or those guys who seem to have a little more street cred because of their medium of how they're talking about the game.
And they also they're accountable because they have players on with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas Perk, he's like a guest on Get Up, or he's a guest on Max Kellerman and Stephen A.
Yeah, First Take. Yeah.
First Take, there it is. It's like he wants to be the next big NBA talking head, and you could see this 2 years ago when he started talking some junk about KD. It's like, oh, we all see what you're trying to do, Kendrick.
And I think you're bang on there, right? It's super transparent in terms of, oh, this is going to get clicks. This is going to be like the Instagram soundbite that I can go out here and say this, and this is going to cause a stir. And to me, that's a big problem, right? Because it's not genuine. And it's one thing to hear, and in this era where, we're doing a basketball podcast, right? So in this era where literally anyone can have a voice, to me, it's super important that you say things that you would say to the person, right? Or you wouldn't
be authentic.
Yeah. And if that's how
authenticity is super important.
And you can make jokes, and I'm sure there's things that I've said here where we're throwing things out there and, hey, this person's trash, and we say whatever, and we try to joke around about it, but we're also just dudes on a podcast, right? There's a difference between that and I think you sitting in a suit and tie on ESPN and having that platform to where people respect what you're saying in terms of actually being an authority, right? The podcast game and all that is people coming as fans. Even hearing the former athletes, that's their perspective. To me, there's no way that you think Zion is acting more mature than Lou Will, because you have no idea what Zion did when he left the bubble. You have no idea.
Exactly.
The only reason we know what Lou Williams is because there's a picture of it. So you can't make that comment, right? That comment makes no sense to me. It's irrelevant. And again, you don't even know why Zion left the bubble. You don't know what Zion was doing when he was outside the bubble. You don't know what Lou Williams was doing when he was outside the bubble. There's all these things that just make it dumb, but you pointed out Lou Will was not here for Perk's comments. And Lou Will went right to Twitter because he quote tweeted, Perk sent out the video of himself saying that on Get Up, to which Lou Will responded with, 15 years in the business, and the most dirt you have on my name is stopping to get hot wings during a pandemic. Perk, shut up. And stop laughing and saying it's just TV when you run into me too. Yeah.
See, that's the big one, right? Mm-hmm. It's that these guys are saying they're not calling him out on his comments. They're calling him out on the hypocrisy of him basically going on TV and saying one thing to get clicks, to get retweeted, and then when they see them in real life, oh, it's all good. It was all good just a week ago.
Exactly. Well, what's the one of the catchphrases, let's say, of probably 2019, 2018? Keep that same energy.
Keep that same energy.
And so that's kind of the thing here, where everybody knows what Perk's move is here, and that's where it becomes disingenuous. Right? Yeah. It's not that serious.
Free country.
I really don't think it's that serious. Because the bigger issue is, hey, you know what's dumb? You might think it's dumb going to get wings at a strip club. You know what else is dumb? Playing basketball in Florida in the middle of a pandemic.
And that's it, right? That's exactly where's the maturity? Where's the dumbness level stop? I mean, that's exactly it.
So Lou Will, to round this out, Lou Will went on Twitter and he said, "But I digress. I went home to see a man off to his final resting place that was a giant in my life. I don't want that to get lost in all this attention. So again, long live the great Paul Williams Sr. Back to my quarantine so I can join the guys soon. Peace." Shouts to Lou Will, man. Yeah. There's no sides to be on here, but in general, NBA owners, billion-dollar NBA owners, million-dollar NBA players are still out here trying to make money. Am I going to knock Magic City for being open and trying to make money the exact same way during the pandemic? Hell no. Am I going to throw dirt on the employees at Magic City that are just trying to make some money during the pandemic?
They're trying to live? Yeah, hell no.
But what I am going to do is, in the thing that's super serious, if there's an opportunity to get some jokes off and laugh, as Lou Will said, enjoy the memes. It's not that serious.
Bang. Enjoy the memes.
Let's move on. And in moving on, Webby, there are scrimmages. Scrimmages happen. And how much have you enjoyed just seeing basketball out there, but also the difference now, because obviously there's no crowd, but how are you enjoying the scrimmages and seeing basketball so far? Is there anything that stood out to you the most, just in terms from the gameplay standpoint?
I think that the court and the camera angles are incredible.
Yeah.
The court is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. When I saw it, I got chills.
Yeah.
I got chills just looking at the court.
Yeah.
And then the new camera angles are so sick. I know it was a really small little clip, but did you see the pass, the crazy Chris Paul pass?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, my God. Like, it took me 4 or 5 watches to figure out if it was real or if it was from 2K.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just some of these are like, I think that the production level in the NBA has always been top notch. Mm-hmm. Maybe just a little bit lower than football in what they do with the cameras, but it's been amazing. But I think that this bubble and having no fans is really going to maybe like knock down new doors in terms of what it is to watch a basketball game on TV.
Yeah.
And for us at home, that's huge.
For sure.
The other thing is, now this is more of a soccer thing, because the MLS was back.
Yep.
And what was driving me nuts was I'm watching this game, and basically half the game is silence. Because these guys are swearing, but the broadcast doesn't want to air any swears, and so they're like basically blanking it out. And it just, I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yeah.
And I guess what they're doing in the NBA is it's like a 10-second delay.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it's like, man, just let these guys swear. Let them be who they are. That's in the NBA, what we love, and we've been talking about it now, is we love the access. We love to find out who these guys are. We love people swear, man. And these games are so late at night. Just let them swear. I don't understand it.
And to me, the thing is, too, you're not hiding anything. Like, I get that kids are going to hear swear words, but, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I just don't think that in 2020, hearing someone say, get the F out of here, get the fuck out of here, I just censored myself for some reason. But you know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal. But if the odd F-bomb slips, it shouldn't be a big deal.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. I get it. It's weird. There's bigger things going on. But in terms of the bigger things going on, maybe one of the things we should bring up is, the huge Black Lives Matter on the court. I was kind of worried, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't think sports should come back, but one of the things I was super interested to see was how they would handle all of these things as you come back, right? And we've seen the names that are on the back of the jersey, which has become kind of a debate, which, whatever, like, what did you expect the NBA to do? They're not going to let you put anything on the back of your jersey, but there has to be a line. And somewhere.
If you don't want the other one is if you don't want to put anything on the back of their jersey, you're going to be in trouble too. Because I thought I thought Jimmy Butler's thing about that was a great idea, and I was really surprised that the NBA was like, "Nah, you can't do that."
Yeah, I agree with you too. I thought that was super interesting, and just all these things that they're trying to come up with. I was kind of worried, okay, cool, you're going to wear that on your jersey, whatever. Okay, cool, it's going to be on the court, whatever. But I want to give the NBA player, well, first off, the biggest shouts I want to give to the WNBA, which doesn't get enough love for the work that they do for social justice, and not even just race relations, but obviously, equality, gender equality and all that. Like, huge shouts to them, and they all walked off the court for the national anthem. And that, to me, is the next level thing, because it's like, oh, well, now everyone's kneeling? No. We're not going to get this misconstrued again and think like, oh, now everyone wants to kneel and think like this is okay or this is like the trend. No. We're going to remind you that this is an actual issue. We're going to up it a notch. No, We need to change what's happening in America right now, and we're going to up the ante and not even be here for when the national anthem is on. And I thought that was a powerful moment to see them do that in unison when those first games happened over the weekend. So I wanted to mention that and give a huge shout to the WNBA because they don't get
100%.
enough love on a lot of different levels, but in this moment, definitely they need to be at the forefront for the great work that they're doing. But when I bring it back to the NBA, okay, I want to give credit to the guys so far who have used their media availability to just answer every question by mentioning whether it's Breonna Taylor or mentioning just racial injustice and saying, hey, this is how I'm going to answer every single question. So whatever you guys ask, I think Tobias Harris, I know, was one of the first people to do it. But
Mike Scott, it's like all the Sixers are doing it, and I couldn't be prouder.
Right?
Couldn't be more proud of that team.
Because to me, that's the thing where it's, okay, we're all going to play, but we're not going to let the world forget about it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you put the onus on the NBA and the NBA's partners and the media companies.
And the owners.
But I'm saying the media companies to air that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's the other part of it. Yes, we're all going to come back and play basketball. Yes, the media companies are going to get all these ratings, but are you going to stop talking about the message that these guys are trying to put forth? And I thought that was very powerful. I thought that was very important, and I hope it continues. LeBron had a full 15-minute just answer to which he was going through everything to deal with the, Breonna Taylor and, just being black in America and what that means. And so the conversation isn't stopping. And that was one of the things, I'll be honest, I was kind of worried might happen when they came back to play. And so I'm happy to see that the conversation hasn't stopped, and I hope that continues. But for you, Webby, what has it been to kind of see those things continue? You mentioned your Sixers, and as a Sixers fan, you're kind of proud of seeing that?
Absolutely. Every time I see it pop up on my timeline, I always retweet it because those guys are, like you say, they're using all their media availability to make sure that people don't forget about that. Now, we also talked a little bit ago about how the NBA is so top-heavy, and to see the superstars, like you say, make sure that people don't forget.
Yeah.
Is huge. So when LeBron James talks about it, when Chris Paul talks about it, when Giannis talks about it, that's huge.
Massive.
Not just for the league, but like you say, for the media. Because if it's just, say the third guy off your bench, if it's your 12th man, if it's your 11th man, there's a way that ESPN or ABC can skirt around it. But if it's LeBron saying it, nobody's going to skirt around that.
Yeah.
It's going to be out there, and that's amazing. That's what it's got to be.
Yeah, and huge props to the NBA again, because it's just such a great league in the terms of the players do have a voice, right? And the players do seem to take charge on certain things, and the league doesn't really hold them back, right? The league allows them to say what's on their minds, and, huge shouts to that. And just as proud as we are to follow a league that we can, have fun and joke around about certain things, when it goes the other way, right? That's a big part too, because again, the Lou Williams Magic City thing is getting all the headlines, but when Lou Williams beforehand was talking about, hey, if we come back to play basketball, that's a distraction, he was arguing with people on Twitter who were going at him saying, oh, you just say you don't want to come back and play. And his response was, no. When you guys stop protesting and we're playing games, and some people change their attention from the protests to playing games, and hey, CNN and all these places have already changed their focus from the protests, right? They're not showing the protests nearly as much as they were before, right? So that's already happened before the NBA came back.
Yeah. Again, if they are, they're showing it because windows are getting broken, or federal agents are rounding people up in Portland, but they're not covering the reason that why people are still out on the streets, why people are still wanting to get their voices heard, and the Black Lives Matter message.
For sure.
We talked about this. Yeah, we talked about this a couple of months ago.
And this is what I'm saying, though, right? When Lou Will becomes a focal point because of the Magic City thing, and I'm sitting here watching it, and I'm like, oh, so y'all weren't really paying attention when he was saying, when we come back to play, these stupid storylines become headlines again, and it takes away from what's really going on. And now look, we spent 3 days talking about Lou Will being at Magic City, proving his point that all these things become a distraction from what's actually we should be talking about in the world. So again, huge shouts to the NBA. And yeah, you mentioned the camera angles. Camera angles were good, but another really cool thing about what they're doing is with the fans. So I don't know if you've seen this. This is from Kevin O'Connor, who works for The Ringer, great reporter for The Ringer.
Yeah.
He says, the NBA will have fans appear virtually on video boards surrounding the court live during games. The home team will choose 300 fans per game. Player families can be on it too. He said, I saw a demoed version of it today, and it's honestly pretty cool and super innovative. It will be during the seeding games. So these virtual fans will watch games on a feed with no delay. So from a technical standpoint, their reactions will be captured live without latency as they are shown in the arena. Audio will also be used to enable, though it's unclear for how long. Then adds, it all feels straight out of Black Mirror.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's pretty cool.
Speaking about that Black Mirror, I was watching the soccer just because it was on. Whatever. I think my Philly Union were playing, and they have the two big scoreboards on either end of the soccer field, and they have just one big fan.
Yeah.
And somebody on Twitter was like, it's like watching a supervillain in a Marvel movie demand $100 million or he's going to destroy New York. It was just one fan. Imagine this, just like looking over the thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. But
good.
This virtual thing sounds awesome.
Right? That sounds pretty cool. And, we get to the games. Let's talk a little bit about the games now, right? So, we know, the sports side of it, who will make the playoffs. So the other part is to remember there's a play-in game. So basically all the teams that are battling for the 8th spot. You have the 8 games, but if you come within 4 games of the 8th seed, there's going to be a play-in tournament, right? So we really know that this is meant for the teams in the West.
For
right?
the West.
The East, who cares? And it doesn't even really matter.
Happen in the West.
Yeah, it doesn't even really matter. Like, who cares about the Wizards and the Nets? Other than I'm here to watch Jamal Crawford and Michael Beasley cook. Why not?
100%.
Why not?
100%.
But let's stick to the West.
You're not here for Rui Hachimura?
No. Can't say that I am. But in the West, okay, you have the Grizzlies, Blazers, Pelicans, Kings, Spurs, and Suns. Of those teams, who do you think will make the 8th seed in the West?
So, of those 5 teams, only one is going to make that 8th seed.
Yes.
Give me those teams again. The Pelicans.
Grizzlies, Blazers, Pelicans, Kings, Spurs, Suns.
Now,
and this is assuming the Mavs.
I think a lot of people.
This is assuming the Mavs don't shit the bed and fall back down, right? But in theory, yes.
Which I don't think they're going to. The Mavs look. Boban looks. Boban. Of those 5, now you would think that you'd say the Pelicans or the Grizz, just because of the star power of Zion and Ja. But you know what? I say the Suns.
Oh, okay.
I really do. I think Ayton when he wasn't suspended for PEDs, was awesome. Was awesome.
He's getting better,
And if Booker can catch fire, I think that the Suns could be one of those teams that, again, can make it in. Because the thing is with the Blazers, I know the Blazers, everybody's like darling right now to get that 8th spot. But the injury stuff with Dame, that worries me a little.
Okay.
I think it's a foot.
Yep.
Last time I checked, you have to be on 2 feet to play basketball. Tough to be on 1 foot. Now, if they don't have him, that's still a good team.
Yeah.
But even if he's dinged up a little bit, so I'm going to go off the board. I'm going to say the Suns.
So the Suns are interesting, right? And I think that the one thing that's interesting to me about the Suns is there's a camp in terms of people talking about the NBA coming back that really says that they think this is going to favor younger teams, right? Because they're just going to go out and play. The rest and recovery isn't as big of a, right? So to me, it's kind of interesting. And in young legs, it makes sense. And when you're talking about Dame, who might be banged up, but then they're relying on Melo, right? Melo's going to now play the 3. Skinny Melo is here to play the 3.
Skinny Melo is here.
And I don't know. I watched the Blazers the other day, and it was Dame, CJ, Melo, Zach Collins, and Nurkic. And then
Yeah, your boy
I'm looking
Nurkic
at that
is
squad,
back.
and I'm just like, yo, I don't know if I'm the Lakers. I want to play that squad. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if that, they better hope the Blazers don't get the 8th seed. That's all I'm saying. That's not a team that I want to play in a playoff series. And especially if you don't have Avery Bradley to run around and try to like disrupt Dame.
To lock.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're relying on JR and Caruso now to try to guard Dame and CJ. I don't know, man.
Oh, and Dion Waiters. Don't forget
And
about
Dion
Dion Waiters.
How could I forget about Dion Waiters? You're right. But do you know what I mean? I get the hoopla and everyone's talking about the Blazers, but like, that's real. That's a legit starting lineup, and I wouldn't want to play them at all in a playoff series. So the Lakers better hope they don't get the 8th seed. I think if the Pels get it, the Pels are still too young. I don't think they're ready. They'll give them a fight,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're ready. They're not ready to like take down LeBron.
I even think that even if the Blazers get in, it won't matter much. I think that the Lakers' size. I think the Lakers' size is being way underrated in this return.
Yeah.
Being able to put out guys like again, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and Anthony Davis. Being able to cycle through those three big guys. That's. I know Nurkic is awesome. And I know having him back is huge for the Blazers, but the Blazers won't be able to handle those three guys. I just don't think.
And I mean, it's weird, right? Like Whiteside now coming off the bench, like that's just depth. But
Whiteside's jank.
No. But I'm just
Get that guy
saying,
outta
Whiteside
here.
coming off your bench. If Whiteside's your first big off the bench, that's not bad for your team, right? That's all I'm saying. So if I go with the Blazers, you go with the Suns. One of these things, people message us, let us know what you think. Who's going to make that 8th seed in the West for sure. We said we don't really care who makes the 8th seed in the East because it doesn't really matter, right?
Not going to matter.
But another way I wanted to look at this, Webby, is which team is going to make some noise here in terms of a surprise team? Not saying they're going to win the chip, not saying they're going to make the finals, but who's going to be a surprise team that, let's say, even if I say the Blazers can make the playoffs and make a little bit of some noise, but like who can win a round, or just a team that maybe struggled during the season and then this restart happens and you're like, oh shit, this team is for real. They can make a run here.
I know you're expecting me to say the Philadelphia 76ers, and I really think that
I definitely am.
It doesn't matter where they finish. I think they are going to win a first-round playoff. I pray that they get the Celtics in the first round because I think the Celtics are destined to not perform as well as they were during the regular season because Kemba Walker and that knee is certainly a big, big issue. If they don't have him, it could be curtains.
Yeah.
So I'd love for the Sixers to get them in the first round because I think that that's a good series that you could take advantage of.
Yeah.
But the team that I'm saying, and I know it's like, I feel like A-Rod during baseball when they were like, A-Rod, give me a sleeper team. And he was like, the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
It was like their pick to win the division. But the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, okay.
You talk about the scrimmage, some of the scrimmage action that I have seen has been the Nuggets. And Jokic and Bol.
Yeah, what is going on there?
So Wu-Tang and Shaolin together could be dangerous.
Yo.
Like, Bol, first of all, saw him, like, block somebody, hit a three, take a full-court Jokic pass, and have this, like, nasty little, like, hook in the lane.
Yeah.
I was like, that could be a team. I know we say it kind of every year with the Nuggets, like, this is their year. They have the horses. They could do it. I really think that if you want to talk about young legs and then having a guy who seems to have completely transformed his body coming into this bubble, it's Jokic. And they could be a very, very, very tough out, and it wouldn't shock me to see them in the conference finals.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really nice team there, and it reminds me in a sense of the Raptors. Just in terms of, yes, Jokic gets the headlines, but is he really the guy like, you're going to give him the ball and he's going to win you the game? I don't know. But when you talk of the collective, right, that's a team definitely that can give you a lot of trouble, and you wouldn't be that shocked if they made a deep run because they have the pieces and they have the depth where they can put out so many different lineups. Like, you're putting out like the supersized lineups that they were putting out in the scrimmages where they're just rolling with all big guys. Like, that's insane.
Crazy. It's like the opposite of the Rockets.
Yeah.
Going with all the small guys.
They had Jokic running the point. Like, it was just insane, some of the lineups that they were able to put out there. And it's a really solid team. And, you know, I like that pick that you made because, to me, it's also the reminder that we should put out there that anything is possible in this bubble here, right? Like, there's so many different things that could happen in terms of injuries, in terms of COVID outbreaks, in terms of anything, that you really don't know what could possibly happen to another team. That, you know, you could get a surprise where the Nuggets make the finals, or the Jazz make the finals, or, you know, the Sixers make the finals. Like, anything is really possible in this situation because it's something that we've never seen before. And when you remove the home court advantage, right? Like, you remember, if we go back to that Raptors Philly series last year, right? And I'm not talking about the end and how it ended. I'm talking about the importance of but follow me. The importance of home court. We saw how fired up Joel Embiid was in that home court with AI and Meek Mill in the front row, and he's hyping up the crowd. Like, that stuff matters, right? But on the flip side, Kawhi being able to go in there in Game 4 and say, "I'm gonna win this game," that also matters. So how does that play in now when home court isn't really a thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, do role players just play good all the time? Right? Like, who knows? And that's the crux.
Think about the Sixers, who had a historical disparity between their home record and their road record.
Yeah.
Like, they were almost unbeatable at home, and they were lower than average.
Yeah.
They were lower than below average on the road. Yeah. What does this mean for that team? Like, is every game going to be like a home game, or is every game going to be like an away game? It's so... we have no idea. We've never been in this situation before.
Yeah, it's super strange. I have no idea at all. And it's going to be fun. And that's what's going to make it fun, right? Like, for all the complaints of my complaints about sports being back and basketball's being back, the fun of this is, at the end of the day, we have no idea what's going to happen. But with that said...
Now, one more thing.
No, go on.
Oh, I got one for you.
Okay.
Because the other thing that we found out was that the NBA MVP award is going to be awarded just from the games before the break. Mm-hmm. So who do you got, LeBron or Giannis?
It's a tough one. It's a very, very tough one. But I think I got to go LeBron. I
agree.
The thing is, right, here's the thing. Giannis won last year, right? But the storyline of the Lakers returning to prominence, and the fact that everyone was anticipating, okay, so now they got Anthony Davis, and how's he going to fit in? Is it going to be his team? Is LeBron going to take a backseat and kind of force feed Anthony Davis and kind of play, a supplementary role to AD? And it's like, no, it's still LeBron's show. He's running the yard. He's, they won the big games against the Bucks and against the Clippers, which I think matters. It has to matter for something. And the West is just a bigger gauntlet than the East. I'm not saying the East isn't good, because I think the East has supremely improved. But in terms of Giannis, they're running through the league and winning by crazy numbers. Don't want to take anything away from that. But one thing we do know about the NBA is that it's about storylines. And the storyline of LeBron coming back and dominating this season and having the Lakers in the position to where they're first in the West and doing it the way that he's doing it at this age, that to me is incredible. When you think about what this man's doing at his age, that's where it's like, you got to give this man the MVP just for the sake of where he's at now. Because Giannis can win another one. He can maybe win 2 more after that or whatever. But what LeBron is doing at this stage of his career, I don't think we've ever seen before. So to me, I'm a sucker. I'll fall for the storyline. I'm giving it to LeBron.
We always talk about it. The NBA is a league of narratives. Mm-hmm. And we are in unprecedented times with this season. Yeah. They're going to give this MVP to LeBron James.
Yeah.
I don't see how they can.
Yeah.
With the return happening and the leadership role that he's taken on, I think that this MVP is way more than just points per game, assists per game, rebounds per game. I think it's about being the face of the league and being the face of this return. And I think that, gray-beard LeBron is going to win the MVP.
It is super weird to see gray-beard LeBron, though, right?
Hey, listen. I was talking to our old co-worker Brian Hastings. Shout out to Hastings because he posted look at the gray in LeBron's beard. And I said, listen, young blood. There's a couple of us over 35 who's got some gray in our beard. I'm not trying to compare myself to LeBron, but I'm just saying we both take care of business. We both have gray in the beard. So let's ease up on the old guys.
I mean, again, for what LeBron James is doing in what is this? He's 35 years old, and my guy's putting up 25. He's putting up 25.7 points per game, 8 rebounds, 10 assists, leading the league in assists.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what? That doesn't make sense. And I get Giannis's numbers are off the charts. The Bucks are running over the NBA. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, I'm giving it to LeBron.
It's a narrative MVP. It's going to be a narrative MVP.
It's a narrative MVP. I'm giving it to LeBron, and I'm okay with that because this might be the last year that we see him play at this level, even though we've been saying that for the past 4 years.
Right? Maybe.
But here we are. But with that said, Webby, that leads us to Vegas saying the Lakers are the favorites to win the championship, followed by Milwaukee and then the Clippers. So I want to ask you, not only, we'll start with first question, what is the finals matchup, do you think, and who is going to win the NBA Finals?
I hate to do this, as we've talked about, like, we're in a situation we've never seen before. Anything could happen. It could be Denver and Philly in the championship. No. The finals is going to be the Lakers and the Bucks.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Listen, what does Jalen say? You got to give the people what they want.
Okay.
That's what the people want. Any other finals matchup would be great, but the Bucks with Giannis against LeBron and the Lakers, the old school against the new school, that's what I want to see. I know it's chalk, but that's what I'm going with.
Hey, I'm not mad at you. I definitely would not be mad at that NBA Finals at all. LeBron versus Giannis. Who's not here to watch that? Like, that would just be incredible. I'm going to say this, and as you just mentioned, right, we've been talking about, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be super weird. I have no idea who's coming out of the East. I really don't. Like, I could try to say, I'll just take Giannis just cause, but I have no idea. Like, if the Celtics made it, I wouldn't be shocked. If the Sixers made it, I wouldn't be shocked. If the Raptors made it, I wouldn't be shocked. If the Bucks made it, I wouldn't be shocked. And that, to me, is just weird. But what I will say is, I think the Los Angeles Clippers are going to win the NBA title. And here's the thing. First off, the only thing I hope to come out of this bubble is we get a 7-game series between the Lakers and Clippers. Right? We need that. That's what the streets need, okay?
Please.
That's what we need.
Please.
That's what we need. And before everything that went down heading into the season, right, I was on the Lakers train over the Clippers because I kind of wondered, I just think if LeBron and AD just go to bully ball, how does any team stop that? But a few things have happened since that have forced me to reconsider. One is Rondo was out for a little while. Not really sure when Rondo's coming back. The other thing is the reason why Rondo is super important because he's a vet. You know that he's not shrinking in the moment. No. You can say whatever you want.
Playoff Rondo. You never know when we're going to see him.
Exactly. But also Avery Bradley being out. Avery Bradley deciding that he was not going to participate for family reasons, right? That's a big loss for the Lakers. And now you add in J.R. Smith, who, his history is, we know the J.R. Smith experience. You're just adding that to a Lakers team, and I just think that against the Clippers, the margin of error isn't a lot. And you're adding in J.R. Smith, and now J.R. Smith is going to be the one that's supposed to be trying to chase around Kawhi or Paul George or Lou Williams. I don't know. like JR, Caruso, like Caldwell
Kuzma.
Pope, right? Like that's who's going to match up against Paul George, Kawhi, and Lou Will.
Kawhi.
I don't know how that works. Then the other thing is the Clippers adding Joakim Noah is just depth. That's a low-key move.
I forgot about that.
That is just depth. And that's a gamer. That's a dude who's not afraid of LeBron, right? He doesn't
we don't even know if he can run, but just having him on the bench to get in LeBron's head,
but hold on.
that would be enough.
With Zubac, Montrez, how many minutes do you really need from Noah? You just need him to come in and be a bully for a bit, right?
Yeah,
like
talk a little bit of trash.
Exactly. Use up your fouls, hard foul LeBron in the paint. Like, Noah's just there to be a bully. That is a great pickup. But
I forgot about that.
That's a big one.
That's a good point.
So now you add in that, and the Clippers' depth, just when you look at that roster, and you're telling me you're going out there with scoring from PG, Kawhi, Lou Will, Montrez, then you have goons, whatever Morris twin it is that's on that team.
Beverly.
Pat Beverly, right? You're telling me you have Noah. They just have good role players. Everything is there. And what we've seen
They're complete.
With
They're
Kawhi,
complete.
we saw that last year. When you give Kawhi a complete team around him, you know when the chips are down, give that man the ball, get out of his way. I just don't know how the Clippers lose. That's the thing. And LeBron...
Coaching too.
Doc's a solid coach. Doc has been there, right? But like you think about it and you look at the Clippers team and you match them up against the Lakers team, the Clippers got that depth, man. And I don't know how...
Yeah.
If you can say, how do you stop AD and LeBron inside? How do you stop all the Clippers perimeter guys?
You might be... And you're right. Listen, 1 to 12, Clippers for sure. Yeah. But you're forgetting something with the Lakers. They have LeBron.
It's true.
They have LeBron.
Hey.
And we've seen him drag worse teams than the Lakers are right now to the finals.
Hey, Vegas has made a lot of money on people counting out LeBron James for the past how many
years,
right? So I hear you. And either way, I'm excited to see it all go down. The games get started. We get to see Lakers Clippers Thursday night right away.
It's like 2 nights, right? 2 sleeps.
Lakers Clippers, let's go. Fired up. Yeah. Of course, the Clippers will be without Lou Will, but whatever. The rest of the squad will be there and ready. And you know what? As mentioned, I can't wait. As much as I don't think they should be playing, as much as, as crazy the past 4 months has been, if you tell me the Lakers and Clippers are playing on TV in the park,
I'm watching.
I'm going to find my way to that park and watch.
Yeah.
You're telling me it's going to be on TV? Boom, I'm there. So, yeah, great to have the NBA back and great to talk to you about the NBA.
Yes.
Because it's the league that we love and we miss so much. But as always, we close out the Ball on Blast podcast with something that we call the Ask on Blast segment, where Ask on Blast, we just talk about any and everything. It's kind of our little pop culture treat. And we've been in quarantine for the 4 months. And I would say, you could argue, but one of the best entities, let's say, to come out of the quarantine might be the Verzuz battles.
Oh.
We've seen them start out on Instagram Live only, and now it's made its way to Apple Music, Apple TV. It's gotten big time, right? It's gotten big time.
Yeah, it went from literally like people not being able to figure out their webcams to I thought that Snoop and DMX were in the same room.
Right? So first, I'll start here. How much have you enjoyed these Verzuz battles? How awesome has the revelation been that is these Verzuz battles?
I can't believe that it took us this long to figure out that this would be a good idea. Like, how many just arguments have you gotten in with your friends about, who's got a better catalog?
Yeah.
Yo, who's nicer? Like, who's got better beats? Who's had bigger hits?
Yeah.
Like, and you just spend hours like, oh man, wouldn't it be sweet if like RZA and Premier could like have a song off? And not only that, but here's some of the stories behind these songs that we've like grew up with and stuff. Like, I don't know why it took us this long, but I'm so happy that we're here. And I think that we need more. I want more.
I agree. And I'm glad that, Swizz and Timbo have been able to turn this into something that looks like it'll continue, right? And I think it's so cool because it's, we're still calling it versus battles, but it is cool that it went from being a battle per se to more a celebration of the culture.
Exactly.
Right? And that has been so cool because there's been so many cool matchups and we forget now, but like Boy Wonder versus Hit Boy early on was dope. Right? Like there's been so many. Scott Storch, Manny Fresh at the beginning was great.
Huge. It was huge.
The memes that...
Even the R&B ones were so good.
I was going to say Teddy Riley, right? And Babyface, the memes from Teddy Riley.
It was wild.
Incredible. RZA versus DJ Premier, you touched on that. That was incredible. That was like hip hop music, our childhood at its core.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
Incredible. What is there one that stands out to you the most? Do you have a favorite one? Is it RZA?
It's got to be that one, just because of how important those two guys and the music that they made were to me when I was young.
Yeah.
That it was like literally walking in a time machine and being in my old beat up 91 Volvo with the tape deck with like four dudes in the back passing the blunt around, like that was, it was amazing to hear. And I still have the playlist of the songs that they played in order, and I still play it all the time. It's so good.
The thing about it too is it's a reminder that they had so many hits as well that like, it does turn into, well, oh man, I can't believe he didn't play this. I can't believe he didn't play that. Oh, is he going to match? Does he have this track to this track? Oh no, he should have played this again. And it's so good. Yeah. And it was just incredible. And I love the fact that the energy was positive, right? It wasn't negative in terms of like, anybody trying to diss each other or like, I'm better than you. It was really a celebration. And I know that early on, there's still people that are like, oh, well, this person won or that person won or the score was this, but it wasn't really even about that. It's more everyone sitting around and enjoying it together on social media. I thought that was really cool. I love that one too. That's got to be right up there in terms of the best ones. But in terms of just like jokes and fun, the Bounty Killer and Beanie Man was absolutely just incredible.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, the dance hall one was
dance hall one was incredible. That was so much fun. It was just happy, right? Like,
yeah,
it is just the fun they were having. The fact that was one of the first ones that they were actually together too in the same place, right? So you've seen them kind of evolve as they've gone along as well and try different things and see different things that work. But that one was so fun, and the police came to try to shut it down, and then they just kept playing music anyways. But yeah, Fabo and Jada was good. Snoop and DMX was good.
Jada was amazing. And now they just announced that they're doing Rick Ross and 2 Chainz. And I will be certainly tuning in for that one. I don't know, like, the whole internet's going nuts by saying, oh, well, what, Rick Ross is just going to come in there and talk, fake stories or lies or whatever.
Okay.
And that's jokes, But I don't know, like, hit for hit, like, Ricky Rose is going to put some tracks down that are just absolute bangers.
I don't know if I saw this on Twitter in a group chat, but someone was trying to float it should be Jeezy versus Rick Ross. I'd be here for that.
And we just celebrated a very important anniversary.
Oh yes,
Sheldon, that I think you need to touch on here before we go, because what was it? Was it 15 years ago?
15 years ago.
God, we're so old.
15 years ago. The hood scriptures. That is
absolutely
Thug Motivation 101. Young Jeezy, let's get it. I mean,
a life-changing album. The
first thing to me was I thought it was earlier than 2005. So that kind of tripped me out, to be honest, right? That part really tripped me out because I was kind of thinking, wait, that was only 2005? Like I thought it was earlier than that. But
no, it was university. I was in university. I remember that.
It's just, you think back and you see that album cover is just legendary, and Thug Motivation 101 is just one of those albums where if you know, right? Like if you're one of my friends, right? I think I tweeted this out. I got to find the exact tweet because I don't want to misquote myself, but I'll say this. It's totally fine if we're friends and you've never bumped this album before, but just know that we're not as cool as you think we are if you haven't.
I saw a good tweet as well about it, and somebody was saying that it was really one of the first albums that he can remember where like you'd be walking and cars would pass you by and everybody seemed to be bumping a different track off the album.
True.
It's so good, man. And I was in Toronto that summer and I was working for a cartoon.
Okay.
And I was a production assistant and I had a minivan.
Yeah.
And I had that album
Yeah.
on repeat with the windows down, going all around Toronto, man. It's just so good.
Young Jeezy, Let's Get It, Thug Motivation 101. It's just such a great album. It's just morning motivation. It's just wake up and get it. I remember me and Cab always used to joke around because I would tell Cab, because I remember Cab was like, you love Young Jeezy? I'm like, no. Like, I love Young Jeezy. I was like, I don't need coffee in the morning. I don't need an alarm clock. I need to put on Jeezy and I'm ready to go in the morning. And I'll never forget one of my boys who works in finance. One day he was like, we were talking about, I was like, wait, you bump Young Jeezy? He's like, dude, all he talks about is waking up in the morning and getting money. That's literally my job.
Money.
He's like, that's literally my job. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense actually. Right? It's amazing. I love Jeezy.
One of those records too that like Jeezy was in. The reason that I think it sounds like, or we don't realize that it was 2005 was because of the mixtapes.
Ah, yes.
Because Jeezy was on mixtapes for enough time before that album came out, and that album was really one of the only ones that continued on. You know, like sometimes
I know what you're saying,
you hear all the mixtapes and you're like, oh man, I can't wait till the album comes out, and then the album's a bit of a letdown.
And this one sounded like the mixtapes. Yeah,
exactly. And it's almost like Meek and Dream Chasers into Dreams and Nightmares.
Yeah.
Like Dream Chasers 2, I think, came out before Dreams and Nightmares, and I was like, oh my god, this album might be better than the mixtape that I love. And I think Jeezy was the same way.
And you can just listen to it straight through, and I just remember the first time hearing Go Crazy. It's just, the beat is just fuego fire, like,
still, to
Let's
this day.
Get It, Sky's the Limit. Like, it's just too many bangers on that album. Trap Star.
Fresh? And then what?
Yeah, Manny Fresh is, and then what? Yeah, that's the Manny Fresh one. That was, I think, was the first one off that, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Also, one of the huge bangers off that is Soul Survivor, Akon, right? Which is that's a hip-hop
big cut
classic track. That's one of those where I know people where, to me, I gauge your real Toronto card by if you were ever 10 deep in System Soundbar on a Thursday night bumping to Soul Survivor, I know that you and I are from the same Toronto. I'll say that much. Incredible. Incredible.
It was. I think Get Throwed wasn't from that album.
No,
but Get Throwed is another.
That's a big track.
That's a
big
track. Though.
That album is just great, man. Again, like that. Let's Get It. Sky's the Limit. Standing Ovation. Bottom of the Map is one of my. It's just straight through. You can just go through and listen to that album. If you haven't done it, do it. It's timeless. Morning motivation. Let's go.
Let's get it.
Great way to end this pod, Webby. That's a great way to end this
Absolutely.
pod. Some Young Jeezy talk, some Verzuz talk. The NBA's back. I'm fired up.
We're feeling good. Two more sleeps.
Webby, feels good to be back, but now that basketball's back, I took a hiatus off Twitter for the most part, but I'll be back now. So I'm here. But Webby, if people want to hit you up, talk some ball, see what's going on with you, where can people hit you up, man?
Yeah, look at pictures of my new daughter when she arrives.
Hey.
We'll get her on the pod. We'll give her a little cameo when she comes. So yeah, hit me up on Instagram and Twitter. Same thing, at awebster84. Let's watch some basketball together.
Let's watch some ball together, of course. And as mentioned, we'll be back. This is called the Ball on Blast podcast, which, as mentioned, part of the On Blast podcast network. Me and Mr. Andrew Webster will be back every single week breaking down what's going on in the NBA. Haven't really decided what day of the week it will be yet. Gonna take a look at the NBA schedule, which is kind of weird. Obviously, as you know, it's all compacted, but
we'll probably be recording as games are going on.
For sure.
To be fair.
Totally. So we'll figure that out, and there'll be one a week. We'll do this Ball on Blast podcast. Same thing goes for the Wrap It Up podcast, which returns after the Raptors and Lakers game. You can find that live on Twitter, live on Instagram, and then wherever you get your podcasts, on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, YouTube. Again, all of these things you can find under the On Blast Podcast Network. Go to any of those places, search On Blast Podcast. You find all your basketball coverage. We got you covered here. And my name is Sheldon Alexander. You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander, on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. And again, please like and subscribe whenever you see the pod. Like, share with your friends. Let them know the NBA is back, which means we are back as well. And I couldn't be happier at all. And, it's been a long time since we've said this because it's been a while since we've been back. But as always, I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Ball on Blast podcast. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Peace.
This is Ball on Blast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network. Available on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. If you like it, then subscribe and tell your friends. Holla.